From Canada, bringing sub-zero temperatures to several states. All this while the nation cleans up from the latest winter blast.
A crash left a truck driver hanging 80 feet above hard ground.
Trucks are slipping and sliding just as much as you are.
The cold and snowy weather can be hard on your heart. What doctors recommend to stay safe.
It puts a big tax on the system.
Space heaters can help you stay warm, but they can also be a fire hazard.
Do not leave a space heater unattended.
New king tides could bring flooding to Northern California.
The water is being sort of pushed up on the coast just by the atmospheric conditions that we have going on.
Plus, the threat lurking in California's water pipes.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Well, good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Eileen Whalen. Well, the fast-moving winter storm that dumped snow from the plains to New England is now over the Canadian Maritimes. In its path is a blanket of snow that ranges from just a few inches to more than a foot. Now, this morning, 40% of the nation is covered in snow, and now the coldest air of the season is moving in. It's going to be cold today, but look at these low temperatures for tomorrow morning. 10 below in Fargo, 8 below in Minneapolis, and 7 degrees below zero in Cedar Rapids, and many records dating back to the 1800s could be broken. Now, as for the snow, we are looking at the impacts the storm had in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, and Maine, and we start with Bob Aaron along the snow-covered roads near Charleston, West Virginia.
Crashes added up fast in the Mid-Ohio Valley Tuesday, about 3 dozen in Wood County, including this semi-trailer. In Mason County, a crash around 5 a.m. left a truck driver hanging 80 feet above hard ground, trapped in the cab of his big rig, held only by the trailer and its cargo. He was rescued unharmed in a firefighter-led rope rescue. Eventually, the cab itself was pulled back up to the bridge. It was a dramatic rescue and dramatically long for hundreds of drivers stuck in a 5-mile-long backup on the heavily traveled truck route. Traffic backups hit Interstate 77 in several locations. This weather-related crash pretty much put the jack in jackknife. And the West Virginia stuck for a load of cargo being transported from Virginia to Ohio.
It was snowing real hard, and you can barrely see, and the roads were slick. You know, if you even dare to touch the brake, you're going around. So I'm in a ditch, tore up truck.
People spent the morning shoveling sidewalks, clearing cars, and even parking lots, while Harrisburg City plows worked the streets after a few inches of snow caused some slick spots.
When I push the button, you can actually see my salt dropping right there.
Harrisburg crews were up before sunrise, clocking in around 4 a.m. preparing to hit the roads. Mother Nature giving the capital city some relief.
We prepared for 4 to 6, but we maybe got 2 to 3, so, you know, it's a blessing.
Not every area was lucky, though. In Perry County, this tractor trailer crashed, blocking all eastbound and westbound lanes. Even after the snow finished falling, Harrisburg crews still had more work to do.
We will concentrate on, putting down some more salt just to make sure nothing freezes up.
Now, the biggest mess, the Northway. It was backed up a good distance with disabled cars and spinouts. State police tell us there were so many incidents happening at once, troopers actually couldn't reach the next driver who needed help because traffic was completely gridlocked. State police say they responded to 104 traffic incidents today. On average, that number is 20. A spokesperson with the State Department of Transportation said that the traffic backup slowed the cleanup, with plows stuck in the same gridlock, preventing crews from clearing the snow as quickly as they needed to. But around towns and neighborhoods, that cleanup still continues.
These things aren't, indestructible. I mean, we have the same conditions that you're driving around in, and yeah, our trucks are slipping and sliding just as much as you are.
It's all hands on deck in western Maine.
I guess if it's going to be cold, might as well have some snow.
Andy Brazier driving a plow and clearing snow for Acton Public Schools. He and others are doing what they can to stay fresh and warm.
Go home and get some lunch and put on a pot of coffee.
Yeah, we got to take care of business.
Russell Cutting lives in Shapley and spent part of his day clearing snow by hand.
Does this take a lot out of you, shoveling, or?
Well, you know, I'm not getting any younger these days.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
For others, like Matthew Brock at Springvale Hardware and Paint, the storm means big business.
We've had a lot of traffic through the store, sold out of a lot of things.
One of those items is rock salt, which Brock says has been flying off the shelves.
Thank goodness for another order coming in today.
Well, frigid temperatures can be hard on the heart. Shoveling snow can be too. Medical reporter Liz Bonus shares what doctors recommend to keep you warm and well when you venture outside.
Hey there, everybody. What you are seeing right here may look easy, but when it comes to the heart, add the cold, and it's a formula for an intense workout. And what does the cold feel like when you try to take a deep breath?
Just breathtaking. It takes your breath away.
Lakeisha Williams is right. The cold can make it hard to breathe. Dr. Thomas O'Brien, a cardiologist with Ohio's Christ Hospital Heart and Vascular Center, told me,
When you step out into the cold, the blood vessels constrict, so your blood pressure tends to go up.
Add exertion to that, and a report from the National Institutes of Health found that leads to nearly 12,000 snow shoveling injuries a year and at least 100 deaths.
Snow shoveling, we don't think about it. That's heavy exercise. That's very strenuous activity. Using the upper body, using those muscles, it puts a big tax on the system. And usually for people that are not used to it.
Todd Hembry says he's sure not used to cold and snow.
I'm from Tennessee. We don't get snow often, so whenever we see snow, we get happy. We play in it, so that's what we've been doing all morning.
A little playing in it, or at least a little walking around before you need to exert,
I have like a 15-minute walk to work, so once I get my blood pumping, I'm pretty good.
Can lower heart risks with shoveling, Dr. O'Brien says, because usually when heart events do happen in snow, it's in
Someone who's at risk doing something that they're not prepared for.
Finally, he says many heart events happen in the cold when people don't heed the early warning signs something is wrong.
It can't just be breathlessness or an uneasy sense that you know something is wrong and you've overdone it.
Those warning signs include chest pain or even pain down your arm, shortness of breath, dizziness, lightheadedness, nausea, vomiting. You might also feel cold sweats that don't go away when you stop that exertion. That is the time to seek medical attention. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
Well, it's scary and common this time of year. Fires caused by space heaters. Now, as the weather changes, many people rely on these heaters to stay warm, but it is so important to use them properly to avoid the risk of fire. Leanna Golden has tips for how to stay safe and warm this winter season.
A fiery start to the week in Fairfax County. Firefighters battling this blaze Monday night at a home where fortunately no one was hurt. These kind of intense flames breaking out across our region.
Recently, we've had a few fires.
In Montgomery County, 7 News caught the end of this massive response in Rockville. Spokesman Pete Pieringer says it took 60 firefighters to get the flames under control.
This is always a busy time of year, the transition season when we have nice days and cold nights. People are starting to use their heating systems.
Late Friday into Saturday morning, 2 fires broke out in the Glenmont and White Oak areas. Pieringer says space heaters are to blame for both.
That is always a problem. It's very predictable. If it's predictable, it's preventable. We recommend that you never leave it unattended. Even if you're going to leave the room, turn it off or unplug it. Even when you go to bed at nighttime, do not leave a space heater unattended.
He says leave it on a flat surface so it doesn't tip over and plug it directly into the wall.
We've had a couple of instances where people are using a power strip or extension cords. Not a good idea, not recommended.
Finally, create a circle of safety, as he calls it, so nothing nearby catches fire. And think about buying a new one if it's been around a while.
If it's something that your grandma had, it's probably a good time to replace it. But, follow the manufacturer's instructions. They come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes.
Well, check this out. In Northeast Missouri, a snowy spectacle is stopping traffic and turning heads. Now, this isn't your average front yard snowman. Known as Bob, it towers over the neighborhood at a whopping 17 feet 2 inches tall with a base measuring 27 feet around. Now, Bob was built by a small army of family and neighbors, and the crew used tall ladders and even a truck to assemble the snowman. Impressive. Well, the official start of winter is still 18 days away, but we're already seeing ice on Lake Superior. This is in Ashland, Wisconsin, 150 miles northeast of Minneapolis, and this appears to be ice shows. That's when sheets of ice on a body of water are pushed on shore by strong winds or currents. Well, coming up here on the National Weather Desk, it's king tide season. We'll show you what areas could see waves over 9 feet later this week.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. Yesterday's rain and snow in the Northeast has made its way off to the east, and we're looking at a nice clearing sky today. We're starting with temps in the 20s and low 30s. Afternoon temps today will top out in the 30s. Some areas down towards northern New Jersey and New York City will top out around 40 degrees. Don't get used to that. There's a cold front that will move through on Thursday. That will bring with it the chance for a snow shower or squall. More importantly, the coldest air mass of the season so far moves in Friday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Dry but cold as we head through your Wednesday. The afternoon will still feature a lot of sunshine. Now, another front's going to move through the region that will bring us another reinforcing shot of colder air that will likely really get here on Friday. So temperatures low 40s and maybe some 30s in the mountains off to the north and west. We'll be talking about it staying pretty chilly even on Thursday before that front arrives. Low 40s to 30s, even colder for Friday.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Wednesday afternoon, we're expecting temperatures north of I-20 to be in the upper 40s, low 50s. South of I-20 and between I-10, we have 50s. South of I-10, we're all in the 70s and low 80s. Hour by hour, conditions remain dry and clear with the exception of a little bit of cloud cover building in from the west for parts of Louisiana, Arkansas, and then Mississippi into Alabama. This is your overnight Thursday into Friday. A few showers will come with it. This is all associated with our next area of low pressure and frontal boundary developing.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Behold a recent sunrise view, complete with alternating bands of ray and shadow known as crepuscular rays. These beams are most visible at sunrise and sunset, and when they appear opposite the sun, the beams are called anti-crepuscular rays. And in South Carolina, another one of nature's many sky paintings, a halo up high with a circumhorizontal arc underneath.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
Well, high tides are expected to increase to nearly 9 feet this week along the California coast. Now, this will boost the risk of coastal flooding. Vianna King spoke with a meteorologist at the National Weather Service.
Meteorologists at the National Weather Service are putting out warnings, as well as asking people to make smart driving choices when water is on the road and just try to avoid the water right now altogether. High tides, also known as king tides, happen when the sun and the moon are both pulling the ocean at the same time. It can cause a big tide. This time of the year, we happen to be the closest we can get to the sun. With the strong gravitational pull of the sun aligned with the moon, it causes the extra high tides.
Then on top of that, we have a little bit of storm surge, about a half a foot of storm surge, meaning the water is being sort of pushed up on the coast just by the atmospheric conditions that we have going on. Yeah, I think the biggest tides we expect to see will be on Friday. That's like the highest of the high tides, and we'll be somewhere around the 9.3 foot tide mark for those. We see minor flooding starting at about 8.8 feet, so you can imagine that there'll be several inches of water on the parking areas around King Salmon.
Well, staying in California, where farmers have struggled with water supply problems for years. Drought is the issue at times, but a new threat is lurking in water pipes. Liz Gonzalez tells us what it is and how it's managed to spread so quickly.
Crews with Westland's Water District are carrying out maintenance on pumps. Massive pumps that move water from the California aqueduct to a 1,000 square mile service area of farms and communities on the Central Valley's west side. But if you take a close look, you'll see some small creatures that pose a big threat. These are golden mussels attached to the pipe. They're roughly the size of a quarter.
We first detected the mussel in October of 24. At that time, we didn't know what it was. It was something new.
New and menacing.
They're ranked one of the top 5 worst invasive species on the planet.
Pam Marone is the co-founder and executive chair of the Invasive Species Corporation. She says these mussels feed on just about any microscopic organism.
I was astonished, the density of the populations.
Where did these come from? State Fish and Wildlife have figured that out.
China, Southeast Asia, most likely it hitched a ride on one of the vessels that come into our ports.
So just how have golden mussels made the 120-mile trek down from the port of Stockton along the California aqueduct here to the Westlands Water District? Well, the answer is simple. The youngest of the mussels are virtually invisible to the naked eye.
So in 1 year, one mussel can produce over 100,000 veligers, or the younger mussels. So once they start to form, as they reproduce, they'll grow in size and cluster together to form a solid mass. And that mass can restrict flow in pumps, it can cause damage to equipment, and it can also restrict flow in our pipelines.
Vandergon says his crews pay especially close attention to the pump bowl assembly, which sends water into other pipes and pumps. Maintenance is the name of the game here until scientists find a solution.
Any restriction in the pipeline flow out here can limit our ability to deliver water to the family farms in the district that grow the food that feeds the Central Valley and the nation.
And the world.
Timber rattlesnakes once roamed rocky ridges in Rhode Island, but now they're gone. Nick Russo has more on the history of rattlesnakes in southern New England and the efforts to save them next door in Massachusetts.
It's here on Pecasset Ridge in Tiverton, Rhode Island, where the last Rhode Island rattlesnakes called home. They spent winter under crevices and rock ledges and sunbathed on top in spring and summer.
All the habitat's still here.
Rattlesnakes were feared and killed in large numbers since colonial times, a bounty placed on them.
They still hung on for decades despite that level of persecution.
Frank Manchester hunted these snakes in Tiverton and displayed caged ones as a so-called roadside attraction into the 1950s. He claimed he killed more than 1,000.
Over time, it would just be relatively easy to kill a certain amount, just enough that the population can't rebound.
By the 1970s, rattlesnakes were wiped out in Rhode Island, but they survive in the Blue Hills of Massachusetts. In recent decades, bounties were replaced with protection.
The timber is probably the most endangered vertebrate species in New England right now.
Roger Williams Park Zoo leads conservation efforts, raising young timber rattlesnakes during a vulnerable life stage and replenishing populations in central Massachusetts. Parati and Lauderhand say fear of snakes is unfounded. They prefer to remain out of sight and bite as a last resort.
Venom is not for protection. They'd rather not use it on a human. That's why they have a rattle or a very cryptic coloration. Their first line of defense is sit there and hope they're not discovered.
Conservationists hope education on the benefits of rattlesnakes, such as rodent control, may one day allow them to return to the ridges they once roamed.
We talked earlier about staying warm during winter, but it's not just about humans. Animals need to be kept safe during winter weather as well. As temperatures drop, calls to vets and animal shelters spike as feral cats look for places to stay warm. And there are simple things that you can do to help them. Megan Danahay has more.
It's just a simple tote bin. 25-30 gallon is sort of the size range you're looking for. You know, think a couple of cats kind of thing to fit inside. And what I've done,
even a mama and some kittens.
Maybe some mom and kittens, exactly. And what I've done is I've taken just a regular box cutter and cut a hole in the side, about cat size. They're smaller than you'd think, basically just the size of their head, a little bit bigger for them to go in.
Plus they can get into spaces like that.
Absolutely, they can get
They're
everywhere. And then other than that, it's just, this is reflective insulation. You can just get it at any homeware store. You can get a big roll for like 20 bucks. And then just duct tape. Good old duct tape.
Duct tape fixes everything.
Absolutely. And so basically what you do is just cut a nice good piece that goes around the inside here. And then you would duct tape this in place. And then I have a piece for the bottom that goes right in. insulate your bottom layer, and then a piece for the lid that would go right on top like this. And you just duct tape it all together, cut yourself a hole in your insulation for the cats to actually come in. And so when you're done, your entrance will look like this. I went ahead and put some tape around the edge just because it was a little bit sharp, so I just kind of lined it with the duct tape and cut a little hole in my insulation there. And then on the inside, it should look like this. So basically just lined with your insulation, just a couple pieces of duct tape, and then you fill the bottom with straw. So it's super important that you use straw for this and not hay.
Well, time now for a short break, but first we take in sunrise views over Baltimore, Maryland.
Well, a very good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. We got just a little bit of light snow for the day today, but it's going to be cold across the Midwest here over the next few days. Taking a look at the day tomorrow, it's still pretty quiet for most of the Midwest, but very cold. A little bit of light snow kind of working its way through over the next several days, especially down towards Kentucky as we head towards Friday. However, as we head through the next few days, not doing much melting.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. We're waking up into the 20s this morning from Amarillo back over into Little Rock. Really chilly up toward Dallas. Warm, humid, and a little on the mild side down towards South Texas. Plenty of cloud cover there. Another system coming in. That means scattered showers from Houston back up into Conroe, back over into East Texas and into Louisiana. Temperatures will warm up today. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
I'm meteorologist George Waldenberger. Your forecast for the western United States and the cold air beginning to sink ever so farther southward. Phoenix's high temperature only 67 degrees and freezing temperatures as far south as Denver. This comes with mountain snow. Denver, Pikes Peak, all the way down to Taos, New Mexico under winter weather advisories for the snow. Meanwhile, watching coastal flooding around parts of the Bay Area. That's the scene from out here.
I'm Ashley Sinclair, weather anchor at WCHS TV Fox 11 in Charleston, West Virginia, and you're watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, this week's bitter blast of weather is another example of the polar vortex descending into the United States. Meteorologist Ryan Munn explains how this contributes to winter storms.
The polar vortex is a large area of Arctic air that sits and spins across the North Pole. A strong jet stream will keep it locked well to the north of the continental United States. However, a recent trend has shown that a sudden stratospheric warming event is taking place. This means that a rapid rise in temperatures is occurring in the upper atmosphere between 6 and 31 miles above the surface. As that happens, it can weaken the polar vortex, allowing colder air to push southward, developing something known as a negative Arctic oscillation. As a negative AO develops, so does a weaker and wavier jet stream. This means more susceptible to cold outbreaks and large temperature fluctuations. It also gives us a higher likelihood that a stormy pattern could develop in the future.
Well, for more content just like this, be sure to follow us on social media. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Eileen Whalen. Have a great day, and we will see you right back here tomorrow.